all about writing with Ben and Sara.
Welcome to All About Writing, the podcast that covers everything about the world of writing from the inside out. This is episode 64, part 9 on our series on screenwriting. I'm Ben, here with my co-host Sara, who is an award-winning, best-selling author, screenwriter, editor, and TED Talk presenter.
And I'm Sara, here with my co-host Ben, who is an award-winning best-selling author and ghostwriter, editor, and publisher. And today, on part 9 of our series on screenwriting, I can't believe we've done 9 already, we're going to be talking about how to get represented for screenwriting in Hollywood, how to find people to help you get your screenwriting out into the world, hopefully in front of the right producers, production companies, networks, to hopefully get that script into reality.
Yeah,
so that's what we're going to do.
This is exciting for me because Sara definitely has more experience in this field than I do. And I know the publishing world inside out, but the world of Hollywood is still a little arcane to me. So I've got some questions here. So let's jump in. How to get screenplay representation. Okay, so first, Sara, why don't we start with, you can just tell me just some basic definitions. Like I hear words like reps and agents and managers. And who are these people? Are they the same person? Are they different people? How does it work?
So we in the book world, we talk about agents. And or and we don't really say the word rep, but it is basically the same thing. Our agents are our reps. In the film industry, you also are getting a rep who is an agent, but you are more likely to say rep when you're in the writing part of Hollywood, and if you're an actor, you're usually going to say agent. I hear it, I don't think there's a hard and fast rule, but I kind of have noticed there is a slight differentiation. So, someone will talk about their rep. It usually means they're a writer as opposed to an actor who says, "Oh, I'll get my agent to call you." So, it is different. I have had reps from multiple different agencies over time. My first rep actually ended up leaving his agency, and then I was repless again until I got another rep. And you can have reps for multiple parts of your process. So if you are, and just to say too, like if you have a book agent, your agent cannot represent you as a screenwriter unless they are bonded to do so. At least in America, I don't know in Canada.
Yeah, I mean my agent is American, and it's the same thing. He has a guy in Hollywood that if I have a screenplay, my agent in New York doesn't deal with it. The guy in Hollywood does. So his rep there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has to do with bonding. Like I don't know exactly it, but it's thousands of dollars a year to be bonded to be a rep. I think it has to do with the unions. I never really asked too many questions when my book agent was like, "I don't touch screenplay. I'll read them, but that is it."
Right.
And then you will also, and you can, so like I'll even usually talk about, I have an agent in Hollywood who represents me as an on-screen camera actor, and she handles mostly my persona as a unscripted person for like any unscripted appearances. But she also can be a liaison across the aisle at Gersh to help me with my screenplay work, my scripted screenplay work. And she has, and she's wonderful. And then there's managers, and managers cannot legally negotiate contracts for you as an actor or as a screenwriter, but they can review contracts. And their job is to not only make sure you're kind of being taken care of on that regard, but their job is to help you, you're overarching your entire screenwriting career. And that means they are going to have their fingers in like you as a person. They're going to say, this is not a good use of your time. This is where you should put your energy based on what the market's doing right now and what my contacts are telling me in the industry. Managers can also be the liaison to get you meetings.
Mhm.
You actually don't need a rep to get in front of executives or producers. Your manager can set up those meetings and actually should be. That's their best job, is to be like, if you're gonna have meetings, your manager's setting those up usually.
Right.
But if you don't have a manager, your rep can. But reps are not as likely to do that as a manager is. And
Right.
a manager is also going to be the one who might give you ideas on, hey, what you don't have in your repertoire right now is this particular genre. And if you can write a spec script, I can at least show that to the people who I know are filling a writer's room
Mhm.
in that genre, because a manager will also maybe get you, interviews to sit in on TV writing rooms.
Mhm.
Um, but they also are the ones who might come and say, you know what, you're struggling really a lot right now. I think we need to have a conversation about whether or not that this career in Hollywood is right for you.
Wow. Wow.
So like they are all in. And so that's the difference, like in depth on how, and things that a lot of people really don't realize, but managers are in a way more valuable than a rep.
Mhm.
And then if for some reason you are getting contracts and they are managers are not usually, if they're reps and managers both, they can do both. But if they're only a manager, they're not legally allowed to negotiate on your behalf for contracts, but they will have relationships and they can get you a rep real quick when there's money and contracts on the table, because
Right.
that's quick money for the rep then. All they're
Yeah,
doing is
yeah,
negotiating.
absolutely. Okay,
Yeah.
so a manager then is sort of looking at you holistically as your career, whereas a rep is for a specific project or a specific screenplay. Like that's the rep's job, is to negotiate with the studio or whoever to get you your money, whereas the agent, or sorry, the manager will be stepping back a little bit and moving all the pieces around.
Yeah, yeah, and your rep also can be a first line of defense for bigger, stars. Contacting someone's rep to say, "Hey, would they be interested in this project?" A rep would be like another kind of line of defense, because they might be the one to go, "Okay, well, what kind of money's on the table for this?"
Right.
Um,
Cool.
and
Okay.
sometimes reps are more visible because they usually are part of a bigger company, and managers usually have their own smaller companies, and they're just not as visible. Um, so
Mhm.
yeah,
So would you say, are there more reps in the industry or more managers in the industry?
I couldn't tell you for sure. I have no idea. I know there's a lot of people who say that they are managers, um, and they might be, because anybody can hang up a shingle and
Mm,
say they're a manager.
right.
So you really have to vet to make sure that they have clients that are doing things and that they know the right people. I once had a manager who was wonderful and like a dad to me,
Hmm.
but his contacts were primarily in genres I don't write at all
Hmm.
as a screenwriter. And even though I was able to get interviews and I had opportunities, and I got a screenwriting jobs through, in the end, it was not a good fit, not because he was a bad manager. He wasn't. He had really successful clients, but it wasn't a good fit for me
Right.
because the contacts weren't the right ones. So that it does come into to play, but you really have to vet managers, whereas agents are usually at an established company that, like Gersh, like CAA, like William Morris, like those that you can make sure that they really do work there. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
easy to check.
Now, I know in publishing, uh, one of the big warning signs for any aspiring author is if the agent starts asking them for money. How does it work in Hollywood? Like, do screenwriters have to pay their managers and agents, or is it the same thing? The money comes to the screenwriter.
And it is the exact same thing. Never, ever, ever, ever should you pay money to a manager or an agent or a rep for them to rep you. They are paid when you are paid. they get their percentage because their job is to get you work. And
Mhm.
if you're not working, they're not getting paid, just like you're not getting paid. So it is a symbiotic relationship that way, and it is in everybody's interests, um, for to help you get your work out there.
Nice. Cool. Okay, so you've got reps, you've got managers. How do you, as an aspiring screenwriter, get your screenplay in front of these people? How do you meet them?
You never send them anything
Okay.
unless they ask.
Okay.
Just like book agents, you don't usually send your whole manuscript when you're querying an agent. Sometimes you're just sending them an email, or you're going through a query tracker now, things like that. And you're usually sending maybe something like a teaser almost of your work. It's the same thing. I have never gone through traditional channels to get any, not a single rep I've ever had in my life, or
Mhm.
agent or manager have I ever had success going through traditional channels the way they say, oh, query these agents, query this, send an email to this manager. Any type of kind of, cold calling has never been successful. Um, and I'm only one person, but I've been in the industry now, long enough, and had my fair share of, good ups and downs. It's always networking.
Mhm.
It's
Okay.
always networking. It's always, but it's not necessarily the kind of networking you think. Like it's like a side conversation via a direct message with someone random on Instagram turns into a manager, turns into an agent, turns into, well, I know someone who knows someone, and then it's a phone call, and then or I got my manager because I was researching executives who might be interested in some of my work, and then found out the executive had a side business making guitars and had his like mailing address on there. So I sent a handwritten letter that with my business card, that then he responded. We had a Zoom. He came out, he came to dinner when I was doing dinner things in LA. At that dinner, after hanging out, he said, you should meet a buddy of mine who is a manager. I had a Zoom with that manager. I had a different manager, separated ways with the different manager, got the new manager who wasn't taking new clients, but you know what I mean? Like it's all, and the same thing with every single rep manager. It's been, oh, well, I met you at this book conference 7 years ago. Do you remember? I met you at that book conference. I remember when. It is never, it's always through a relationship building process, whether it's direct or subsequent ripples in the pond.
Right.
And I think that that's something that if you're just inching into Hollywood, and this is where it's very different than the book industry. The book industry, you can get reps through Query Tracker and cold querying. Hollywood is run on relationships.
Mhm.
100%. Everything, every movie and film you see come out is getting done because there are relationships involved.
Right.
That's it. It's all about networking.
Which, of course, for many aspiring authors, they're just like hanging their heads now. No, I have to go talk to people. So, okay, fair enough. Networking is a really important skill, which any of us in any kind of entrepreneurial career should get good at. So, fair enough. Um, but here's my next question. So, that's great if you live in LA and you can go to all these parties and go to all these functions and just bump into people and meet people. What if you don't live in LA or can't get to LA or get to wherever, Atlanta or New York or wherever the film people are? Um, what do you do? How can you reach out remotely?
There are a lot of free networking sites online. The first one off the top of my head is Stage 32.
Hmm.
So stage32.com. You can set up a free profile and just start connecting with people on there. Um, if you are wanting to focus on screenwriting, there's ISA, I think it's International Screenwriters Association. That's another free place where you can start making connections. They're virtual connections, but they also will segue into Film Freeway and a couple of different online places where there's competitions where you can start seeing names of people and reach out to people through there and say, hey, I saw we're both finalists in this screenwriting competition. You ever want to have a Zoom and just talk shop? And always, start those networking things with like, hey, I just want to like get to know you. I'm not going to ask you for anything. You're not going to ask me for anything. We're just going to start a friendship. That's really what you're doing. You're just trying to make friends. And from those friendships, things will grow. And the same thing with, there's some online, more and more, there's virtual film competitions and almost like conferences, just like book conferences are getting more and more online for people to get greater reach, for people who might not be able to travel to places or attend conferences as easily. If there are film festivals in your state, I think there's multiple ones in every state. See if you can drive the couple of hours to attend, even for a day, and rub shoulders and just get to know people and get their contacts and stay in touch via email, text, Zooms, and just start that way. Because I understand, it's expensive to fly and network. So there are ways to do so in your own backyard. And I would highly recommend starting there.
Yeah, that's a great reminder that films are made everywhere, and not everybody's in Hollywood, but it doesn't mean they aren't connected to Hollywood, right? And so that's just it's a way to get started. No, it's great.
And I do think, I think the idea that movies are only made in Hollywood is a leftover like bastion from the past. It is no longer the reality. So I think making sure we realize that our things are bigger and there's less gatekeepers. I think we had somebody on here who was like, the gatekeeping game has changed. And I think as much as we're kind of talking about the gatekeeping aspect of Hollywood, that is changing so rapidly that in a way we're back in the Wild West of film entertainment again. And so I kind of feel like, hey, be as innovative as you want nowadays and find people who are willing to do it with you. And you might actually move your career ahead faster as a screenwriter than you would if you were going to try and slog through the traditional channels.
All right, so it's a brave new world out there, everyone. And on that positive note, I'm going to say that's our show for today. Let's just leave it at that. So thanks, Sara, for your insights. Really appreciate it. And for everyone who's been listening, please don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our chats. And please do leave a review. It really does help us a lot. If you want to catch up with Sara, ask her any questions about networking in Hollywood, you can find her at saradahman.com and on Instagram.
Yes, and you can find Ben at ben@arcoles.com, as well as on Facebook and Instagram as well. And thank you again for joining us. Please, please reach out if there's any topics or anything about screenwriting in particular you want us to go back and forth on. And we'll see you again when we next chat all about writing.
This has been All About Writing with Ben and Sara.